I knew that once I started with the eco resins that I would get slightly addicted. And here we are. Rex Resin sent me their magic pour kit to try. So it comes with the 3-to-1 powder to water. So it's 3 parts powder to 1 part water. Don't make the mistake that I made the last time that I used a casting powder. I had these reversed. So I had 3 parts water to 1 part powder, and boy was that runny. So you get the powder, you get cups, you even get molds. Like, I'm not going to be using these today, but you get these molds, which is really cool. It's a tray mold, a coaster mold, and like a little ring dish mold. You get a stick to stir, and then you even get sandpaper. So this truly is a all-in-one kit. And in here, look at that. And so these paints aren't what you would use to actually color your mixture, but you can use these to color your finished product. So these molds I'm definitely going to be using. I'm just not going to be using them in today's video because I have a plan for these geode coasters here. And these geode coasters are also from Let's Resin. And I'm going to go get my leveling table. Okay. I've got it already calibrated for this spot because I want my coasters to be nice and level. And so this is measured by weight. So it's 3 parts powder to 1 part water. Okay. And it's got a nice lid that fits on there really tight. Okay. And then I don't know how much I'm going to need for each one of these. But if I use, let's say, 3 ounces of powder, I think I'm going to need a little bit more than that. So if I use 3 ounces of powder, I'm going to need 1 ounce of water. I don't think that's going to be enough. So I'm going to use four ounces of powder roughly. And then I'm going to need 1.3 ounces of water. I'm just going to use another cup. My water. So I need 1.3 ounces. And you don't have to measure it in ounces. You can measure it in milliliters if you want. So there we go. Now I am going to be, I would like to do a marbling in my coasters. I'm not going to use these paints because these are not for coloring the plaster. But this is a nice little unexpected surprise. I have these little pigments that I got with another kit. Blue, yellow, and green. Wish there was a red, but I'm going to use these. These are the only pigments that I have that are made for the casting powder. I honestly am not really sure where these came from. I'm going to use the blue. I'm going to go ahead and mix. I'm going to put my water in my powder. I'm going to use this stick because I think I like the shape of it. I like the shape of it a lot, and I think it'll really help me to mix it up. No lumps. Okay, now let's get the coasters over here. And what I'm going to be using today are these conch shell slices that I cut out of conch shells that I have. I don't know if these are going to be, these might be too tall. I may have to sand these down a little bit thinner or use a different coaster, a coaster that's a little bit deeper, because the thinner that you make the shells, the more fragile they are when you slice it. And I used a wet saw. So the pigment, what I'm going to do I'm going to put a couple of drops in here like this, and then just kind of swirl and fold with my stick. And that is it. That is it. And now I'm only going to pour on one side. Because I want this to be kind of a two-sided coaster. Let's see if I can set this inside just like that. The rest of it I want to be resin. I don't know if this is going to work though. I think it's going to be too tall. All right, well, I'm going to go with it anyway. Stuff sets up really, really fast, but I can rinse this cup out and use it again. And now I just need to let these sit and hope that they're not too tall. And if they are, what I'm going to do is just pop these out. We're just going to go with it. All right, see you in about an hour. All right, so it has been about an hour and this is nice and dry. I did have the plaster to crack and I had to take this shell out because I had a little piece of, I don't know, debris or something underneath and it wasn't laying flat, but the rest of them should be pretty flat. I'm a little bit worried about this one, but I just think maybe my shell cutouts are just a little bit too thick. So I'm just going to try this out. If it works, that's great. I'm going to use the Let's Resin Fast Cure, and I am going to mix up quite a lot because each one of these coasters holds 100 milliliters from top to bottom. Now I've got about half of it already, roughly, maybe a third already taken up. So I think I'm going to color this. I want to pour some in here because I don't want to use all of it. Because if I do that, then I don't want the turquoise resin to be on top of here. So I'm going to put one big drop. Y'all, I don't have gloves on because I'm not touching the resin, okay? So let's just make that clear. And I just want to pour until I'm level with the plaster. Because then I can add a top coat. That is going to be over everything. Trying to be really careful here. Okay. Okay. That's probably going to be all I'm going to put in there for now. When this cures, I'm going to come back and put a clear layer on the top. I really like how I didn't mix in all the dye, and so it's kind of swirly in there. These might actually turn out okay. I had a little problem overnight. This coaster, well, you can see what happened. This coaster is a little lopsided. Like it doesn't want to lay flat for whatever reason. There was nothing up under it. So I had the brilliant idea of putting this jar on the shell to try to flatten it out, and it did flatten it. But overnight, the jar fell over and got into the resin, and now I broke my coaster. So I'm going to chalk this up to a learning experience. I mean, it is way wonky, but oh well. Moving on. I'm not going to cry over spilt resin. These look fine. Mix up some more resin. I mixed up way too much last time, but I need to now top these off. Here we go. Clear layer. It is pretty much covered. I really think I was worried over nothing about these because they are definitely not too tall. I'm really happy with that. And I don't want to put a torch on it. I think I'm just going to spray with some alcohol. So I just got alcohol in a spray bottle. And that is going to get the bubbles. I've got a little bit of leftover resin, and I had an idea. I made this with some leftover resin, and I just kind of just chunked it in there. But this is a conch shell mold, and I didn't really, I just basically just chunked it in there, but I had some blue resin, some white resin, and then some sand, and I didn't do it correctly. I've got to fix that, but I want to try to do it right this time. I'm going to mix some sand first because I want the sand to be around the rim. So I want the sand first. So I'm going to mix some sand in, not this chunky piece. This is really not sand. This is just chunky fresh shells from the beach. This is what I'm going to pour in the shell. And I want to get that into the bottom. Kind of smoosh it in there. So make sure I get the very tip right there. I might have a little bit too much sand in there. Maybe not. And then I'm gonna pour a little bit back into this cup. I don't really care that it has sand in it. I'm gonna put 1 drop of the KS Resin liquid resin dye in turquoise, which if you've been following my channel, you know this is my absolute favorite color of blue. And then in this cup, 1 drop of the Let's Resin Ocean White. 1 drop of the Let's Resin Ocean White. There. Maybe 2 for good measure. Okay. And then stir. My God, look at that. That is just gorgeous. Okay. And I'm just going to kind of alternate the colors. My God, this is so gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Little bit of white left. All right, we're gonna see what happens. I am really curious about this. Look at that. All right, I'm gonna give it a little squidgy widgy, like Steve McDonald likes to say. Thank you, Steve, for that awesome saying. So the fronts turned out really good. The shell was not too tall. It's nice and flat on the top. So that is good. All right, well, I'm gonna demold, and then I'm gonna have to seal the back with something. Let's see what it looks like. Oh yeah. Oh, it's already, the resin seeped up under the casting or the casting powder. Got a little hole right there. You know what that is? That's from the shell being hollowed out in the center. So I can fill that with some UV resin. No worries. I'm gonna have to seal that with probably some UV. I think I could do that with UV, or maybe just a little bit of resin, like a skim coat. And then this one too. All right, so let's do that. Okay, now this needs to cure overnight. This is the back of the coaster anyway, but I do wanted to cover just this part that didn't get resin on it. And now that's going to be nice and sealed. Okay. And then I am really excited about this one. Can you hear the puppy? He's crying because I'm not paying him any attention. Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, wow. That is really cool. So I know what I need to do differently. I've got some dry spots on it, on the rim especially. I wonder if I could fix that with some UV resin. That is absolutely gorgeous. I probably just need to mix a lot more resin in with the sand, but I think I can fix that with UV resin. Let's try that. Oh, I got a little resin drip. I need to sand that off and probably do another flood coat on here. This one turned out awesome. Love that. Couple of little bubbles, but I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. And these two, the front side and the back side, are like equally amazing. Huh? This is the back side, this is the front side. Turned out really, really well. Really happy with that. So this was a great experiment. I just need to fix that. Really good experiment, and definitely going to try this again. So make it a crafty day, friends. Bye.